and welcome to today's Beyond Zero Tidbit. I'm Catherine, aka Punch Life Back, and today's topic is all about the meaning of life. Not a pretentious topic at all that I'm going to try to address in like 10 minutes, right? But it's not what you think it is, and it is much simpler than we tend to think it is. So here we go. Without further ado, let's just dive in. So we know that humans thrive when they have meaning, and they struggle when they don't. So luckily, our brains are meaning-making machines. That is their purpose. And so you and you alone are capable of giving your life meaning and purpose. It comes from within, not from without. So perhaps there is no more significant example of how important meaning is to well-being than Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. I'll provide a link in the description. So Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychologist and neuroscientist who turned his experiences in concentration camps during World War II, I think primarily Auschwitz, into a profoundly influential book. A short book, too. It's a good read. So he held that, and I quote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose his own way." So he discovered that under the worst of conditions, life could still have meaning. And they could still have meaning for a person when they give their suffering meaning by responding to it consciously, by taking responsibility for it. So if we can create meaning out of the worst of experiences, then perhaps it's true that we create meaning, period. Maybe meaning doesn't exist outside of ourselves at all, but it's something for which we are responsible. Maybe, just maybe, it's a radical act of creation by each of us. So here's an example from Frankl's book about creating meaning out of a negative experience. An older man's wife has died, and he is just devastated. His doctor asks him, well, what if she were still alive, but you had died? And the man thinks about it and responds, well, she would be the one suffering now. So the doctor points out that by surviving his wife, the man has actually saved her from the pain of losing him. And this insight, this shift in perspective, this reframed thinking transformed the man's pain from something detestable into something noble, and his overall suffering was relieved. Right? So Frankl says, and I quote, "Ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. To life, he can only respond by being responsible." It blows my mind. I love that quote, especially the end. To life, he can only respond by being responsible. I don't know if you can hear the dog chaos. It's really disrupting me, but I gotta just own it because this is life, right? It's messy, it's chaotic, it doesn't always go the way we want it to go. So I'm just gonna let it happen and I'm gonna keep rolling. So Joseph Campbell, who you probably know, he popularized the hero's journey, and he was a comparative mythologist, and he believed that, and I quote, that life has no meaning, okay? Each of us has meaning, and we bring it to life. It is a waste to be asking the question when you are the answer. So that's his way of saying the same thing. Meaning doesn't exist outside of ourselves, we create it. We have to take responsibility for it. He also says that the crucial thing to live for is the sense of life in what you are doing. And if it is not there, then you are living according to other people's notions of how life should be lived. So there's something in our creation of meaning that is a key component of our authenticity. And then there's Curly in the movie City Slickers and his one thing. He contends that the secret of life is something you've got to figure out. And if you want to see that really short movie clip from a throwback movie that I happen to adore, it is also in the description. So modern research backs up Frankl, Campbell, and Curly. We do indeed find meaning in the world around us, and we can create or uncover our unique sense of meaning, and we flourish when we have meaning, and we suffer when we don't. But why? Why do we suffer when we don't have it? So, excuse me. Because when we don't have a sense of meaning, we feel unsatisfied. It's like something crucial is missing. And we may not be able to pinpoint that it's meaning we're missing, but we feel an absence. And we are spectacular at trying to fill that void in all the ways that don't really fill it, like shopping, drugs, food, sex, binge watching, all of those things that are considered destructive habits. So, right? And those efforts are always going to fail because we aren't addressing the real need, which is a loss of meaning, an absence of meaning. So if instead we focus on creating meaning, which we all are capable of doing, we'll engage in destructive actions less, and our likelihood of flourishing increases. So how to take responsibility and create your meaning. Here's where the rubber's going to meet the road. And Viktor Frankl says, "For the meaning of life differs from man to man, from day to day, and from hour to hour. What matters, therefore, is not the meaning of life in general, but rather the specific meaning of a person's life at a given moment." Wow. So in other words, we can create meaning out of anything, in any moment, at the drop of a hat. So our meaning will change as we change, sometimes moment for moment. But this is incredibly powerful because meaning, therefore, cannot be destroyed or taken away from us. If we lose it, it's because we've given it away, or because we've chosen not to create it, or because we're unaware of this body of knowledge. So meaning is intensely personal. We tend to look for it from one source or one truth, but in reality, it comes from many different sources. It can come from work. It can come from family, love, religion, personal projects, major tragedies, right? So you can find it in positive experiences and negative experiences. Some major positive experiences where people tend to find meaning are things like falling in love, having a child, reconciliation, big life-altering events, loving and receiving love in return. There are also minor positive experiences where people find meaning, and that could be as simple as coming home to your pets, like mine that are whining and barking because they want to be outside playing and I'm not letting them. Expressing or receiving gratitude, one of my favorites. Appreciation of beauty, so taking in a sunrise or a flower or a waterfall. Quitting something that makes you unhappy. Spontaneous moments. So when you have a second, take the time to reflect on what positive experiences give your life meaning, big or small. So you can also draw, of course, on life's negative experiences like Frankl has shown us. And in fact, I find that it's often in our darkest times that we experience our most exceptional heroism and growth. So people who genuinely are resilient and they bounce back after adversity, they find meaning in even the hardest events. So some negative experiences where people often find meaning are things like the loss of a loved one, getting fired, going through a natural disaster, having a near-death experience, maybe getting diagnosed with terminal illness or living with a chronic illness. So when you have a moment, please reflect on what negative experiences have given your life meaning or give your life meaning. So Dr. Martin E.P. Seligman, one of the fathers of positive psychology, I talk about him all the time, has a formula for creating meaning in your life, and I really, really like it. He says that meaning equals your core values plus your character strengths in service of something greater than yourself. So here's an example how I've used this formula. Meaning to me equals being in integrity with my core values of connection, adventure, and vitality, while using my character strengths of love, bravery, hope, curiosity, and forgiveness to make the world a better place by creating an epic fellowship of unstoppable heroes. So this is very unique to me. I find it incredibly powerful, incredibly motivating, and it's definitely boosted my well-being in many, many ways and has contributed to the creation of the Matrix card, right? So, woo! If you want to do Martin Seligman's formula, click on the link to the Meaning of Life PowerUp, and you can do it right there. It's super easy. If you don't know your character strengths and you don't know your core values, in that PowerUp, there are links to short videos to show you how to unpack that for yourself, so no worries. So go ahead and do that whenever you have the time. It will so be worth it. And if you want to share it with me, email me at punchlifeback@thematrixguard.com, or info@thematrixguard.com will also get to me as well. So a couple final thoughts. Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey, right? And in that, he says we are all called onto adventures. So when you hear that still small voice inside of you that's urging you to take a risk and grow, you have an opportunity to create meaning and to claim your pricelessness. So here's a little bit where meaning and authenticity combine to create you as a hero, okay? So Joseph Campbell says, and I quote, "If you refuse to go on your call to adventure, then you are someone else's servant. When this refusal of call happens, there is a kind of drying up, a sense of life lost. Everything in you knows that a required adventure has been refused. Anxieties build up, and what you have refused to experience in a positive way, you will experience in a negative way." Viktor Frankl says, "Everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment. Therein, he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. Thus, everyone's task is as unique as is his specific opportunity to implement it." Wow, so it's vital to live on your terms, not someone else's, because that is where your meaning and your irreplaceability exist. Your uniqueness is your gift to the world. Don't hide it out of fear. Lean in and trust this process, because Nietzsche says, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow." So thank you so much for listening to this Beyond Zero tidbit. I so appreciate it. I appreciate connecting with you in this way. Until next time, stay true and never settle. Bye.